Okay. I'm gonna try for this not to be a long video, so I might even try to go a little bit faster, but oh my god, a lot happened today. And it started when I got up at 4 o'clock. I answered the call to go pray. And before that, though, I had a dream that I'm gonna tell you about. And it was a horrific dream for me, even though you might not think so. But it was first for me. I actually dreamt in black and white. It was really weird, and it was in a giant mall, and I normally have dreams where I'm oftentimes in a commercial center or indoors, but this mall was just huge, big open spaces, and it wasn't even that crowded, and I remember one of the shopkeepers saying, "Hey, come over here, Chris. Hey, come over here," and I had my big gym bag. I usually carry it in the gym, and it's, like, open, and my stuff's, like, just short of, like, pouring out, especially when I'm leaving the gym, and that's kinda how it was, and I go over to the shop, and he is saying, "Hey, like, security's gonna bust you if they see any of that stuff. In fact, you might wanna hide it because, not only they're gonna try to bust you, but they're gonna try to take from it, like Mexican style, like, 'Hey, come on, give me some of that, if you don't wanna get in trouble.'" And, "Oh, okay, thanks." And I kinda cover some of its stuff up at and the shop will had some, like, a display of some ice cream, and I'm looking at the ice cream, and even though it's not that colorful, because again, the dream isn't black and white, I could tell that some of the ice cream is very decorative, and it has sprinkles, and I'm not even that hungry, but I'm just like, "Ooh, there's this one or there's this one," and I choose some ice cream, and I don't remember eating it or anything like that, I just remember ordering the ice cream, and I think that's about when I woke up. But the dream was horrifying to me because the dreams that I had been used to and the dreams that I had been dealing with are dreams where I'm in a commercial center and there's lots of people and everyone's rushing around. Everyone's off doing to something, and I'm looking for my daughter. And for some reason, people are trying to pull me into different things. And I'm like, no, 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 this is a distraction. I'm trying to find my daughter, and I'm trying to find people that are only interested in helping me find my daughter. And it's just those dreams are bad. Those dreams are bad because I can't find any sort of help. But this dream was awful in the sense that it was like the opposite of that. It was like I was in this big fluff, nothing is real, nothing is genuine. I have no sort of goals or anything like that. It's all and I had no direction even. And yeah, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad for having that dream that I knew that when I woke up at 4 o'clock that I should answer the call and pray. And I made a solid holy hour. And this was also something that was very new and different for me. For the first time, I prayed for a solid hour without pulling out all my holy cards or my, prayer books and saying prayer, meditating, or, doing a bent on that from taking other people's words. I just sat there and after in a candlelight and just opened my heart for an hour. I knew I had plenty of people to pray for, and I knew that there was plenty of things to pray for, and there's just so much going on. And I prayed for a solid hour without anyone else's words, and it was very emotional. It was very heavy. And I felt fulfilled when it was over though, like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that." And then I had some coffee and just sort of sat there and reflected and kinda just took it all in the silence. And when I went to work, it was a really, really slow day, and I'd already done a lot of the tasks, and I just sort of kind of had to sort of, fill the time. And I got to work and try to find things to do, and because I knew just sitting there was draining, and especially since I got up so early, I got really, really tired at, like, 1 or 2 o'clock and almost kinda had this sense of delirium. Received a box of filters for the, um, cremation processing machine, And I got so excited. This was like Christmas. "Ooh, I got these new filters," and I cleaned up the machine, and I put in the filters, and I was just, like, so happy. And then I was back to the silence in my workspace, and what made it what made it heavy is that I was a little sleep deprived because I went to bed late and I was up early, and I get those sort of feels where you get, like, really, really emotional when you don't get a lot of sleep, and I decided to, pray the rosary, and the rosary today was the joyful mysteries, even though I was just really sad. And it was funny because I was at a point in my case where, I had a lot of feelers out there and a lot of people that I had sent messages to, or, um, uh, you know, was asking for help or for this or for that, and there weren't any. It wasn't I was just sort of waiting for a response from these people, for at least a period of, like, for 2 hours. There were some people later on that were very, very responsive, and I'm not talking about those people. So, but I'm talking about earlier on in this period of time where, in my delirium and being deprived of sleep, it was the weirdest thing. I felt like it was those dreams that I used to have, where I am trying to find Lillian, I'm trying to find people to help me, and everyone's just really busy and off doing their own thing. And it was I don't know why it was really emotional experience for me to experience that, like, during the day, that feeling and those, like that dream state or that dream. Um, but it was. It was, and then there's a decade in the mystery of praying the joyful where they find Jesus in the temple, and it was like Mary and Joseph were looking for Jesus, and they couldn't find him, and I was able to, like, just relate to that, like, "Oh my god, that reminds me of my dream." It was just a heavy, heavy day, um, and then, um, I had to do and then I wanted to do a FaceTime with my daughter. And thank God that just went well. I was reading up on things to do, and I didn't think it would work, but it did, about reading books. I got to read books to her because normally she's just a big ball of energy, but she was, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to read a book," and she just sat there and focused. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful. It was a little challenge reading upside down like that, in front of the but it worked out, and, I think it was a good session. And then I had my, meeting with the fatherhood course. And if you don't remember from I signed up for a fatherhood course or class, thinking it was something like, it'd be something like the dynamic of, like, okay, fathers, you don't need to take your child to an emergency room when they have a temperature of 101 or 102, but you do if it's 107. Because, no one ever teaches that stuff. And I thought, oh, that'd be great to go to a father class, where they teach this kind of stuff. But it turns out this is the kind of class that, the courts, require, mandate, you know, um, um, uh, uh, what's the word? Men that have had a lot of, darkness and history and issues in their past where they need to come back to those kinds of basics. So the class is more like, hey, these are the things, like, here's the list of, let's make a list of the things that society, you know, considers masculine, and what, and, like, how is Donald Trump fit into that? And how does this, how does Tupac Shakur fit into that? And here are the role models we're given. But then who are the role models that you have that society probably overlooks? and I'm among all these, like, really hardened guys, and by the way, like, I'm sleep deprived, so I was kind of almost, like, a little scared earlier in the day, especially, that, I might get emotional and look like a puss if I start, you know, fighting back tears among these hardened guys. And almost really early on in the course, there was a guy next to me that said, "Yeah, I cry. I don't care who knows, but like when I can't see my girl." And sure enough, they all have like legal issues too. Like they were, had these custody battles and there's stories, where they're trying to um, connect with their kids, over all these horrible obstacles, and sometimes even coming out of prison. And, yeah, I felt like, "God, this is great. I'm in the right place," and, um, and we got to that question there about who are the role models in your life that you think, are overlooked by society, and one guy's like, "Bob Ross." And there was another guy who was like, "Steve Irwin." "Yeah, why?" "Yeah, 'cause he's courageous and stuff." And the one I threw out was Mr. Rogers. And everyone was I kid you not, it was so awesome. Everyone's like, "Yeah, yeah, Mr. Rogers." You know? And, so it was just, like, I feel like I'm not like, it's weird. I'm humbled because I do learn some things, but I kinda come in there thinking like, "Oh, I got this. I already know all this stuff." But then I do end up learning some things, and then I also end up validating a lot of the other men, and it's really cool because one guy will bring up cloning even, and I'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, well, that's just," and he's, like, trying to sell it, like, to the facilitator, they would clone sheep, and I'm like, "Yeah, and that's just what we know publicly," and he looks at me like, "Yeah, you know what I'm talking." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right." And yeah, I get to have a couple moments like that, you know, um, and that's just one story. It was so cool to be able to connect with these guys and guy time talking about being dads. Um, so the day was really heavy, but then there were all of these forces that did come to my aid, and things did end up moving through, and people did, after just a short period of time, and sure enough, yeah, I prayed for patience, just for just a short period of time. All these characters and some of them hardly even know me, just came forward and like, and just express their own unique expression of love and and concern, and it just filled me so much full of hope. I came home and my sister had sent me a little container of spicy crunch, and it just warmed my heart. Like I had it when I was over at her place. I loved it, loved this product. She just sent me a brand new container of it. It's like, wow, well, she didn't have to do that. And it's like, wow, what a difference a day makes. Our daily bread. And, so now I was really, really tired today, but I probably shouldn't have had that coffee at the meeting, like 8 o'clock. 'Cause now, of course, I'm gonna have sleep issues. What was I thinking? You know what, too, I'm confessing? I had cake. I'm not supposed to eat cake. I totally forgot I'm in Exodus 90. Oh my god. Anyway, I've been really on this rabbit trail about feng shui. So I am gonna at least read up on some feng shui tonight as I'm redecorating in my life right now. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read myself to sleep. I'm gonna intend not only to dream, but to remember my dreams and to learn from them. I dream dreams that help me learn about myself and what I need to learn for life lessons during the day. Good night. I'll see y'all tomorrow.